Hello, this is Gerald van Was. The reason why I record so many videos about how you change a word into a sounding form example, so that you can see also how the words as letter combinations also are about the expressions of how the word is found. You can get used to it, but also for me it is a way to make the method that I have also more practical and give it some extras, that it also becomes a bit more practical and more direct. And I hope I can do that also by this example, which is about the word spons or spons. I will take the Dutch and English word because they're quite near to each other, and there's just a slight difference in the ending. And the method that I want to make more practical is as this. We have a kind of focus that is uh, giving focuses in general are focuses that give it as quickly as possible an orientation. The orientation of self-organization is a self-organization into three parts. So also our focuses to give it as quickly as possible a 1, 2, 3 position, and then we have the definition. And I will use also this method as well, the method itself, to make it more practical, to also define what kind of focus is defined in the letter combinations of sponge. And also there we have these three focuses, 1, 2, 3, which always comes back. The first focus will always be about, yeah, everything which you can define to something in space. So it is also something, if you associate it from what do I have here, is it about an object? Because that are the things that we define in space most of the time, if it's not about a contextual reference in space. If we focus upon space as a foundation, it will be about an objective focus, about an object in general, something physical. And if that's the case, that we have already that focus from the beginning as the 1, 2, 3 choices, it will be about an object, then it is about the category number 1, and we use a specific method in the category 1 that we start from the physicality of the object, and we create a physical features. We create or show the form and the formation process. That's the first method. Another method would be if my first focus, my first attention, the one eye, let's say, the one eye attention is about focusing away because things are changing and there's movement involved, there's adaptation involved, there's everything that refers to timing. Then we have to have a different approach, and we also have to find the direction. Find the direction first. We don't have it here. The third category is about mostly with abstract words. It's also always a reference on, oh, here I use a word specifically into a grammar sense, into a contextual or any kind of contextual sense. And of course it will be about a wider context. And there we have to have the approach of putting the three regions to each other and see where the object lies into these three regions. That's the context. That's the third method. And I will use, of course, my main focus will be about the form. So I will remember that it's about the form. My first attention goes, okay, but I'm looking at a form. So I have an object and I will have a formation process. So I will focus mainly on expressing the formation process from there. So that's number 1. The second, when I use it in a practical way, the second attention is when I have already, I have a starting point. Now I have a starting point, but now I have to see, okay, but how is the starting point? What kind of changes do I have in the starting point? What are kind of variations are there? The changing elements. There you have to use the focus of your two eyes. You look upon everything what happens there and also happens there in time, or even though we know it's about an object, but this object can also be a product of things that are changing and so on. So we have to check, yeah, what is really changing in the object? What are the changes? In which category are the changes in the object? Again, 3 categories. So what do we notice then, without 2 eyes? What is further happening in here? Is it and then we have to go from the word, because that was sponge, the general focus on the word was sponge, so we just simply have an object and that's it. More we don't know, and we associate the object, that's already possible. But if we go to the letters, we also will see what the object is describing via the letters. It still describes something via the letters, or even though that method is quite new. It exists in numerology in focused away from the letters, but there exist certain methods that go to the letters. But I use the letters as geometrical also foundations, and what kind of letters are in the words also have these 3 categories, and the numerical order brings them into one of these 3 categories. So the first category, that it is about an object, is in space, are these first 9 letters. The second category, is it about changes, or timing is more dominant, and we have another couple of letters. If it is more about a bigger context, or within time and space, we also have a couple of letters there. What is there immediately that we see in that word sponge or spons, which it is that we have letters that are referring to the 3rd category especially. So it is the beginning and ending is in the 3rd category. So when we look at what is happening there, we have a context, we have that 3rd bigger context association. Bigger context association is there because it starts with S, ends with S, or starts with S and ends actually with J, which is a combination of N, G and A around the letter G. Let's say it is a combined sound. I'm not going deeper into that, but we focus upon it that the difference between the S and the J is a variation of S with a G pressure in it, to have a little bit more focus upon what is really happening here. We'll come to that later. I will explain a little bit better. So we go also to put the focuses there. So we have the object, we start there, that's our starting point, the black spot there in the space. We know it's about an object, but the object, how it looks like, immediately our attention goes to what is changing, the 2 eyes there, into the 2nd category of timing. So we have these 3 categories here as well. There's a space more down to the ground. Timing is from left to right, and in the background the context, and it's about context. S is about context. The object has its range from S to S. So first thing, the foundation is the thing or the word itself, and then how is the word, what does the word contain, how is it described, what are the looks of it, how is it arranged, is in the 2nd category. But also this 2nd category, the looks and the changes of bring us immediately to that bigger context. Bigger context is a focus of orientation, so it can be changed into different descriptions. You could also describe it as that balance, that when you focus upon space, you have there everything that starts from an individual viewpoint, which goes then all the way in its balance up to the last word from A, the individual, or I, from the individual viewpoint, to the general viewpoint of S, the surroundings, and whatever the viewpoint there at the back is a general viewpoint against an individual viewpoint. So that's the mindset of differences between these, the beginning of the system in the numerology of A and the ending of the system in the letter S. If it would be about the object itself, we know, of course, that our attention will pick out different things. If we are closer to the object, we look at the individual features. If it's far away into a bigger context and we still look at the object, it will be about much more general features. And just imagine that we focus also in these three levels our attention down to the material. When we have the letter A, it will be about separate distinctions or separate objects, that kind of center focus. If it's about the last category, then it will be more about, if it's still focused upon the material, it will be also about general conditions, which are there in each object of that kind, the general features. So it could be about the materials conditions even, or about the conditions of the surrounding of its object, or whatever that word has. So seen from space alone, from the first category, it will show all the different small features. Here it will show the dominant and general features. So also within the changes and how it behaves, it will be, when we use that letter, it will be about that kind of behavior or that kind of feature of material. It will also always be about that kind of association and balance of focus towards it. And we will have the help for our balanced system at the left. You can always check it there and check it double if you want to see but what is he saying? Is he using fantasy, or is he using a theory that has a foundation? The foundation is on the left. I will not explain it in this video, it will take it too long. But now we will go to the letter S. The letter S is really that at the end of the system, it's at the border of what we see, and it has in the beginning, in the mathematical sense, where the A has a very defined definition of a number one starting point, the S, which is in the category of the number 9, by the way, in numerical order, it has a starting point which is almost undefined, and we hardly can see where it comes from. The same thing, it's undefined where it will go to. So what we are left here is not the beginning, not a focus upon the beginning, not a focus upon where it ends. It's in between that we sense all of its temporal effect. That's what the S about, that we have there the focus upon the what is the real end effect of all these things. But the end effect means also the direct effect upon us, because where it goes to, where it comes from, it's less important. That's now not our point of attention. So there we have the S with that part which is within our scope of focus. And when we put it on into the system, it's in the third category, so we have them into 3 positions. So it's in between, a range, a certain range. You could even say, in that general sense, it's everywhere, or more simple, it's spreading. You can have a specific moment, of course, that you can take out, but in a way, it's a general focus which can be specified at some moment, but this general focus is still dominating, and in a way the elements, the description, fits also everywhere, individually or everywhere, or everywhere in that way. The next letter is the letter P, which is about the popping out of what is changing and so on. So you notice the changes and the end effect of it. With the S, that's emphasized. You have the end effect at some point from that popping out. So I will have that also within the S form a little bit. So it's popping out at a certain placement in time, in that perspective, because it's related with time much more than space. And if n, because it's spreading and it's everywhere, I can also repeat it a little bit with a dominant moment where it is coming out. It's spreading here as well. The O, that's the next letter, is also about the timing. The timing in which one moment specifically, again associated with this popping out, will decide, also the spreading will decide the moment where everything will be seen in that way, seen into that description of how that material is seen into that from that position onwards. There it starts from, and there you will see it also spreading in a way. And the O is also about a spatial frame in which it is enlarging and which it goes, and so you have that full space in which it is spreading and where you will see that thing that is happening. So you have it here. The spot is there already. That's already the spot of attention that you have there, without the T of course. The spot is there where that combination of letters is spreading and getting larger, let's say. The next letter is N, or from sponge, so we have the N. In N there is that element of feature where you say, okay, at some point you can have that, at another point you don't have that. So that gives us more variations inwardly also, that at some point it will pop out, and another point it can even pop in, let's say. So you have different variations of what is coming out and what's coming in. That's the spon already. And at the end, the S will be again the end effect of all that, which I will now show as the borders at the end. But of course it will also have the borders from where it starts. So in between there, what you see, it has these effects, and these effects can be faced outwardly or inwardly. As a sponge even, you have already the features of sponge. So if you change the blue, which is about space, if you put water in it, you almost see what's happening in the sponge, or what you can do with sponge. You can do that with water, you can do that with air. That's what's happening in the material in its general sense in the sponge. But in English you have the G to it, so that's the position of G. Wants to say, okay, I have an effect there also at the end, a little bit like the S, but the end effect will gives us the sense of how the changes are happening. And this is of course also spreading into all the positions in the various variations. The difference with G is it is coming back also, so it's the feedback process from all of that. So it has a feedback inwardly from what we sense, from what is coming from an outside pressure in a way, and an inside pressure as a result. That's even more a sponge in the English word, and so you can understand and recognize that word already in sponge as it has been written. We still have an E to it, so the E also has within this, let's emphasize this coming in a little bit more. The E, which isn't pronounced, actually always refers to a time frame, but very short. In a way you could say, because it's a very short version of the letter E, so it's as short as possible. So it could also refer to a moment. In this case it is each moment, not the moment where something happens, but each moment where you notice it. It is a very short tone which has a reference point within timing, but you really not say much more like, oh, in the background I see where that happens. In sponge I see where this whole set of features of what a sponge is and what the sponge is doing and what kind of behaviorism there is in the sponge, in that material, even in that general background conditions of that material, what the features is are describing what the sponge really is and what it is doing and how we see it. It's there, and you can notice it, and you can understand it. Thanks again for watching. And anyhow, there's a website too with a short URL for the demonstrated words page, and there's some Facebook URL there as well if you want to follow me further there. Thanks again for watching, and if you want to dig yourself deeper into what it is all about and what are the possibilities of following a certain logic while using letters, these books are a starting point, and then the videos are then the next, let's say the next level already, that you can have more examples of how it works in reality. Okay. Anyhow, thanks again for watching. Bye.